Well, I trust you're ready to jump into the book of Esther with us today. What an interesting book Esther is. It is interesting on a number of levels. First of all, it's one of two books in the Bible that are written that have the name of women as the title. Ruth is the other one, who is a Gentile marrying a Jew, and Esther is a Jewish woman who marries a Gentile king. Ruth is a very interesting book, and Esther is as well. Also in this particular book, we find that the exiles, many of the exiles had gone back under Zerubbabel and Ezra, and somewhat with Nehemiah back in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. But this book focuses on those who didn't go back to Jerusalem and Judah. And these are the ones who stayed back in the kingdom of Persia. And so what's going on there? This book tells us a little bit about that. Probably one of the most interesting features is this is a book all about the sovereignty of God, as few books of the Bible are. And yet the word and the name of God is never used even once in the whole little book. And so we have a very unique feature there as well. This book also tells us about the Feast of Purim, which is found at the very end of the book, and why the Jews celebrate that particular feast. And so there's all these interesting features concerning this particular book that makes it fascinating for us to look at. The storyline of Esther is that the king Ahasuerus, or Xerxes, has divorced his wife, basically, and he's looking for a new queen. He has a beauty contest throughout the whole empire, and as he does so, he runs into all these beautiful, beautiful women, and Esther, who is a young Jewish gal, but the king doesn't know she's Jewish. She's Jewish. She wins the contest and becomes the queen. As the storyline picks up, we find that there's two men that come to the front. Haman, who's the villain of the story, and Mordecai, who is a godly Jew. Haman has become the second most powerful man in the kingdom, right after the king. And he is so proud, so arrogant, he virtually wants people to worship him, pay homage to him. Mordecai, as a faithful Jew, would not do so. And so because he will not pay homage to Haman, Haman hates him, and not only wants to kill Mordecai, but he wants to kill all the Jews in the whole world. And so that sets up an incredible battle that's going to take place. Ultimately, the tide is turned, and Haman himself dies. He is hanged on his own gallows. And the Jews are allowed to defend themselves, and they have a victory against their enemies. And that's why the Feast of Purim is formed in light of that victory. Another interesting feature of this particular book is the word Jew. This is going to be our key word, actually, Jew. You might not realize, but the word Jew is only found 2 times in all the Bible before Esther. But in Esther, it is found 47 times. And so it derives from Judah. These people, most of them were from the southern tribes of Israel, which is known as Judah. And Jew came from that designation of Judah. And 47 times we find it there. So we have a picture of the Jewish people and the word Jew that is there. The key verse is found in chapter 4 of Esther. Esther has a decision to make. Will she confront the king concerning the killing of the Jews, or will she back off and try to protect herself? In verse 14 of chapter 4, Mordecai says to her, "If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this?" Let me suggest that very last sentence be our scripture verse, key verse from this book. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this? Here's the sovereign hand of God. And Mordecai doesn't mention God, but he knows that God is orchestrating things for such a time as this. And he does the same thing for your life and mine as well. God is sovereignly in control, and Esther talks about that. What a great book. You have a wonderful day in the Lord as you contemplate that. Okay? See you next time.